My school building is very, very old, and when it first was used convent for nuns. Later on, when TB struck badly across country, they turned the convent into a TB hospital for children. Many children died, but the shocking thing is that it secretly was a hospital for treating people with insanity as well, which seemed kinda proper as there were nuns there and they could help them find faith and such. Anyway, it said that many people died and the building was left the way it is. It got opened again by 2 nuns and was turned into a school, but the funny thing is that they didn't bother to change anything from the corridor where they had the mental patients and the sick children. The corridor still was in use. They had the exact same tiles from that time, and there was crosses and statues of Jesus and Mary alongside in the walls. There also was a secret room that us students weren't allowed to go in, but me being me decided to be Curious George and went in. Needless to say, I felt chills. The room was surprisingly very cold, and it had such an eerie vibe to it. It was suffocating to even be in there. There was a few statues of Mary and Jesus on the cross and a lot of holy water as well. But there was this other room that had a huge rusty lock on it. I was already spooked out from the vibe in that room that I didn't even bother to try to open the huge lock and left. After that, I left to another school. I moved cities, and the building was demolished. From what I've heard from my old friends who live near there, is that apparently there was a nun who went crazy after treating the mental patients, and she kept hearing voices and whispers, and that she committed suicide in the room that had the big lock on because the voices wouldn't stop. Story 2. In 2013, the principal of Lee Williams High School in Kingman, Arizona, Steve Elwood, spoke to the Los Angeles Times about the multitude of ghost stories surrounding the school. Many of the people in town believe that the campus of the school is haunted, and have reported seeing specters of women in prairie outfits and men kitted out in their best previous century wear while attending graduation events, along with the usual phenomena of flickering lights, phantom footsteps, and alarms that go off for no reason. There were also reports of a man dressed in a long coat and sporting a bowler hat who roamed the halls of the school, as well as a tiny girl making herself heard at night about wanting to play outside. Lee Williams High School is situated partly on what used to be the old Pioneer Cemetery. In 2013, during construction of the new school building, 11 graves, 7 coffins, and a multitude of artifacts were uncovered on the premises. Skeptics attribute the ghostly reports to wild imaginations, but the janitor of the school insisted that the stories were true. He claimed to have heard footsteps entering the bathrooms at night when no one was there but himself, as well as voices coming from some of the classrooms. Story 3. My school's library is open until around 2 in the morning for the idiots like me who don't do their essays until the last minute. It's a pretty small building, and most of the books are in the basement area called the stacks. Just to give you a quick layout, there's the big main stairs that go down to the stacks, a vending machine room, and the long hallway with 4 entrances into the stacks. The stacks are 2 really big rooms on opposite sides of the hallway with a huge amount of bookshelves and study desks lining the walls. I was there around 11 p.m. last year. It was a pretty research-intensive essay, so I was down in the stacks working in one of the study desks, so I didn't have to keep going upstairs and downstairs again. I had been there for maybe 2 hours, and everyone except for a boy working a few desks down from me had left already. I was pretty zoned out by this point. It was an 8 a.m. class, so I didn't have much time until it was due, and I was sort of panicking. So it really pissed me off when I heard someone flipping through book pages really fast to make them do that loud whir noise at the other end of the room. I sort of ignored it for a while, thinking they'd go away eventually, but they just kept doing it. After about 5 minutes, I got sick of it and started to walk over to tell them to knock it off. I get about 3 steps across the room, and it just stopped. I sat back down, and it was quiet again for like 10 more minutes before the flipping pages noise started again, only loads louder, like they'd grabbed a huge book that time. The boy started to get pissed off too, and he stood up and started walking through the bookshelves trying to find them. It keeps going, so I got up too and started looking around with him. It got really loud, and it was pretty obvious where it was coming from by that point, so we started walking towards it. He was on one side of the shelves, and I was on the other. We walked all the way down the shelves. No one there. We hadn't seen anyone come in the stacks. And we were on the side of the room with the entrances. No way could anyone have come in without us seeing them. The noise stopped again, and we both just sort of slowly walked back to our seats. I assumed it was just a fan or something in the other room, and I really needed to get my essay done. We sat down, and immediately the noise started again. It sounded like it was coming from right next to the guy's chair. He shoved his stuff in his bag, looked at me, said, I did this, and took off. I was out of there maybe 5 seconds behind him. I still won't go back in the stacks at night, even when there's other people down there. No essay's worth getting murdered by a weird book ghost. Once there was a school that was not quite an ordinary school. The doors would twitch and sometimes books would fall off the shelves in the library. Even coffee mugs fall off their hooks in the staff room. It just wasn't right. Students were terrified to go to school. Even the principal was scared to go to school. There was something wrong with the school. It was 8:30 a.m. The Friday staff meeting was about to start. All of a sudden, a teacher sees a man in black walking past the table. Another teacher sees the man, then they all see him. It's a ghost. No, it's not. We're just seeing things. I know this school. It wouldn't be haunted. You sure about that? I think it is haunted. Do you think coffee mugs would fall every Friday at recess at the same time every Friday? It's nothing, maybe just that hook isn't strong enough to hold it, but it's 3 different cups each Friday. It was Tuesday night, fancy meeting night in the library. Everyone was ready to start. The principal opens the meeting. Good evening, parents, teachers. As you may know, that there has been lots of stories going around that the school is haunted. It is not. People have been thinking that it is haunted, but it is not. We have had people in, and have said that it is not haunted, and I think it will stay that way. The P&C meeting went great. There were nothing spooky going on, like books falling off shelves. It was 9:00 a.m. The bell had gone. We had a quick assembly in the COLA. The principal started talking. There were noises coming from the speakers. The kindlies were hugging each other in fright. The teacher went to calm them down. Then the COLA started to shake. Everybody ran to the playground. 1 minute later, it fell. No one was hurt. Engineers came. Nothing was wrong. It had just fallen. The next day, workers came in to build the COLA again. It was recess. Everyone went out to play until 5 gunmen came in the school and held the school hostage. Everybody ran for cover, mostly classrooms. They have hacked the intercom system and were talking about how we were going to die. Then the ghost came and spooked the 5 gunmen off and said, "This is our school, and we will do anything for it to be our home. We will spook all you people off if we have to." It was the last day of term 4. Everyone was so happy about school being over and not going to be spooked for another 5 weeks. All the classes were having parties and there was soft drink, and you wouldn't get that on an ordinary school day. It was also an exhausting day. All the teachers were moving classes, and then the ghosts came back and made everything collapsed.